Hi, third graders. Welcome back to another Richmond Math lesson. Today we're doing Grade 3, Unit 7, Lesson 13. I wanted to give a few shout-outs to some of the boys and girls who've been working so hard and sharing on Flipgrid, like Isaiah and Ari and Bodie and Benjamin and Brooklyn and Clinton. Thank you so much for sharing. It's a lot of fun to see who's out there. So today our learning target is I can determine the perimeter of figures. But before we begin, let's have our joke. How do fish get to school? Give up? On an octobus. So silly. Yesterday, you had to finish this page by yourself, talking about congruent and non-congruent figures. So let's just check our answers real quick. Pair A were congruent. They were the same size, same shape. Pair B was non-congruent. They are not the same size and not the same shape. Pair C is congruent. Pair D is non-congruent. Pair E is non-congruent. Pair F was congruent. It was just turned a little bit. Pair G is non-congruent. And pair H is congruent. I was thinking about Benjamin because he said the star was his favorite. I was also looking around my house for things that were congruent, and there's my front door. And I saw this quadrilateral or rectangle on my front door, and I said, oh, that is congruent to that one. Then I saw the next rectangle, and I wondered, was it congruent with the one below it? And I checked it out. No, it's not. But it was congruent to the one beside it. And finally, the bottom rectangle on the door was congruent to the other rectangle at the bottom. So that's kind of fun. You can look through your house and see if you can find some other congruent figures. I also have made a game for congruent and non-congruent that you can play yourself. It's just a sorting game. The easiest way is to go to hellosmart.com and enter the class ID number of 966130. So anyway, I hope you enjoy that. But now let's go back to our learning target for today, is that I can determine the perimeter of figures. Oh, there's a new word, perimeter. So let's find out more about it. The materials that you're going to need today are pencil, crayons, some paper, string or yarn, scissors, and then the handout for later on. So take a few minutes to go get those things. All right, so the first thing I want you to do is I just made a small square. My square, I think, was about 4 inches by 4 inches. You can use any size piece of paper that you want for this, but I want you to take your piece of paper and I want you to find the perimeter of your paper using your string. So look at what I'm doing. I took it and I put on the edge to kind of measure out the outside edges or the perimeter of my shape. So you can do that too. And then when I found where the end was, I put a little mark there. And don't worry about my table. It was a dry erase marker. Okay, so now I know how long the outside edge of my little piece of paper was. So next, I'm taking that same piece of paper and I'm going to draw and cut a path. So watch how I do. I start on one corner and then I made kind of a squiggly line. You can make any kind of line you want. And then I'm going to cut that line out. So here I go cutting on my lines. And you can cut your lines out too. Okay, so now I've got those two, but now I'm going to slide that one piece of paper over to the other side, and then I'm going to tape it together. So now you see I've still used that whole piece of paper. I didn't get rid of any of it. And now I'm going to measure the edge or the perimeter with my string again. And I'm going to stop right there because I want you to think. Is it going to be the same size because I used the same piece of paper, or do you think the outside edge has changed some? Now, if you need to pause right now so that you can finish your own, go ahead. All right, well, let's look at what happened to mine. Did you notice what I did? That now the outside edges were bigger than my original one. Even though I'm using the same piece of paper, those edges are bigger. Did you notice that with yours too? Wonderful. Well, that's the perimeter. And I like to remember in the middle of perimeter is that word rim, like a basketball rim, the outside edge. So here's the square, and there in red, I have colored in my perimeter. Now, I know earlier this year we talked about the inside part, which was the area, but now we're talking about only that outside part, which is the perimeter. So now, looking at your paper, your handout, because Ari, Charlotte, and Cash said their favorite shape was a triangle, I figured we would take our crayons and color the outside or the perimeter of our crayon, of our shape, triangle. So let's all take our crayons, and once again, this doesn't want to work, so I'm going to use this, and I'm using my crayon to color around the perimeter of my triangle. And in fact, I might do it one more time. Let's see. Whoops, no, I'm not moving it. I'm going to color one more time, and oh, this time it's black, and I'm going to say perimeter. Can everyone say that word with me? Perimeter. I am coloring the perimeter of my triangle. Ooh, you know what? I'm going to try one more fancy pen, and I'm going to do the perimeter of my triangle. So I've just colored the outside edge of my triangle. Let's look at the next shape. The next shape is a pentagon, and Bodhi was the one who liked the pentagon. So let's try again. Let's see if I can get my pencil to work for me. I'm going to take my crayon, and I'm going to color I'm going to color the outside perimeter red. Can you color the outside perimeter of your pentagon red? Whoops. Let's do it one more time. The perimeter is now red. Should I put a fancy color on the perimeter? Maybe I'll try this fancy one to make my perimeter really red. Okay, you can color the perimeter a couple of times. Good job. All right, let's look at the next one. This is an 18-sided shape that Axel drew, and I just thought it was so fun. I thought we could use this shape to find the perimeter. So once again, let's take our crayon and let's color the perimeter of this fun shape that Axel came up with. Okay, and just make sure I get all the way around to all of the edges. And then after I go over it with my crayon, maybe I'll do something fancy, and you can change your color too. Maybe this time I'll use some daisies on there to make sure that I get all of my perimeter colored. So we said that my perimeter is the outside edge of a figure. Oh my goodness, that looks so fancy. So today we talked about how I can determine the perimeter of figures. And we wanted to make sure that we knew that what that word perimeter means. So I'm going to highlight that word perimeter because that's such an important word today. And what did we say? Can you whisper what the perimeter is to somebody? Perimeter means the outside edge. So I can determine the perimeter of figures. Now you have some more work there, and just trace over the perimeter of those figures on there. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.